Hello everyone, this is Pause for Parenting, brought to you by PAREDOS, Parent Education for Development in Barbados, and this radio station. I'm Cicely Clark-Richmond, Director of PAREDOS. PAREDOS is a non-governmental organization established with the primary goal of addressing the challenges faced by parents and families in Barbados. Assistance is provided through a wide range of programs, which include classes in parenting designed to educate parents in all aspects of child-rearing practices to help them to positively impact the lives of their children. PAREDOS promotes strong, cohesive family life, which includes working towards life goals, imparting values to promote positive family life, and practicing work-life balance to include entertainment, reading, play, and to bring balance to life. PAREDOS also provides private and confidential individual and family counseling. These sessions are designed to assist clients to identify the root problems affecting them. Our other flagship program is the Community Outreach Program. We will be happy to assist your organization, be it a school, place of employment, church, community, or sports groups, to talk to parents and young adults about parenting. Call us at 427-0212 or email us at admin@paredos.net with your requests. We also offer a parenting class where you can learn how to keep your child involved in positive, wholesome activities. Classes are held on Wednesdays between 4:30 and 6:30 p.m. and Saturdays between 9:30 and 12:30. Hello everyone, we're back. Happy New Year. So much has happened since I last sat in this chair, but I encourage you, as we are still in the early days of the new year, that you take some time for reflection and do whatever you need to do to take care of yourself and those who you have responsibility for, so that at the end of the year, Lord help us, that you can say that you have grown, that you are on your way to fulfilling your God-given purpose. January is the month in which national attention is normally focused on drug awareness. We know that understandably, things may not happen the way that the organizers would like this year, but we at PAREDOS believe that this is a very important subject, because drug abuse and drug addiction can wreak havoc in individuals, families, and communities. I've invited the staff of the Substance Abuse Foundation to come throughout this month to shed some light, expose some myths, and generally educate us about drugs, abuse, addiction, and help us to better understand and hopefully prevent and reduce the scourge of this disease. With me to start this discussion is Allison Gotip, Director of Clinical Services at the Substance Abuse Foundation. Allison is a qualified counselor with over 10 years' experience in the addiction field. She is passionate about empowering others to change their lives and believes in using dynamic and innovative ways to engage others. Also with Allison is David Waithe. He has been in recovery for over 25 years and currently works at the Substance Abuse Foundation as the property manager and coach. Step coach, I should say. Allison, David, welcome.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Now, before we get into the foundation and how it works, let's talk a little bit about the whole focus, usually, as you said, in January, on drug abuse, drug addiction. What do you know about what is planned for this month?
Yes, thank you very much. Headed by the National Council of Substance Abuse, they are the Drug Awareness Month, which is this month. The theme is knowing the facts and making the right choices. It's really focusing on young persons and ensuring that they have a right foundation in terms of, knowing the facts surrounding drug use, drug abuse, and that includes alcohol, and understanding the impact that it can have on their lives. So that's basically the theme for this month.
Mm-hmm. All right, so let's now get down to the foundation, and I need you to give us a sense of how it got started, the where, the when, the how, the why.
Well, the Substance Abuse Foundation is an organization that houses your listeners may be more familiar with Verdon House and to a lesser extent Marina House. It has been open 20 years, and it was basically a group of like-minded individuals who were impacted by addiction. That means that some of their family members, their friends were impacted by addiction, and they actually found that there was nowhere in Barbados that could actually help their families. Therefore, they decided to come together and to start the organization. One of the founding members, she was actually in addiction and struggling and had to go overseas to, start the treatment and the recovery process. On her return back, she actually wrote in the newspaper, and that, heightened the awareness to some people. So they said, let's come together and let's start a residential facility for persons who are in the throes of addiction.
Okay. So, David, I want to bring you in here at this point because, as you said in my introduction, you are recovering. Tell us a little bit. We're going to unpack this story as we go on. But tell us a little bit about your involvement. How did you become involved in this organization, this foundation?
You working out in Verdon House.
Yeah.
When Verdon first opened, they were looking for staff at that time, and due to the fact that I had 5 years in recovery then, and the original clinical director, was the first director, she was looking for people. And since I used to do a lot of service, like going out, talking to schools, doing trips, doing talks and so forth. She been to the psychiatric hospital, and she met this Dr. Bell, who introduced her to me, and that is how I got onto the job at Verdon House.
Okay.
And when they went there as a counselor.
Okay. And but your own recovery now, what was your source of addiction that would have led you to being there?
I work in the Ministry of Public Works. After recovery for 5 years, I believe that it would have been better to move from the Ministry of Public Works over to the Substance Abuse Foundation, so that I can be my knowledge, and I mean much able better to help those individuals that I've seen on the streets, those that came into Verdon after that, and I believe that I would have been a good asset to the Substance Abuse Foundation from the perspective that I was already in recovery.
Okay.
At that time.
You were recovering from
Addiction.
Alcohol?
I'm recovering
Drugs?
from all drugs, inclusive of alcohol, which we can go down the lines quickly. Marijuana, pills, coke, heroin, alcohol, whatever. And that was up to 1995.
Wow. Okay, we're going to get back to your story. So, Allison, what is the overall objective of the foundation at this point?
Right. Our overall mission is to help those in addiction and their families to lead positive lives. Now, that's very broad in a sense, and, we might all have a different understanding of what that is. Basically, we at Verdon and Marina House have the residential where persons come in, both male and female, male into the Verdon facility and females into the Marina facility. And we start a 12-step program with them. They're assigned a counsellor. They are involved. We have a very much of a holistic approach. So it's not just talk therapy. We're looking at the spiritual aspect. As I said, we're looking at the 12 steps. We're looking at making this person whole, because these persons come in and they're broken. Whether they realize it or not, they're very much broken. And it's more than just saying, well, put down the drugs, put down the alcohol and go back into society. No, it's very important to actually dig deep, look at the issues behind, looking at the why, right? Looking at what they've been using to their coping mechanisms, what they have been trying to avoid, and really digging deep. So we have, counselors, we have psychologists, we have creative art therapists, we have step and recovery coaches. We So we make sure that we have a whole range of staff members there who are helping them on every single level. We also have case managers looking at housing, looking at jobs, because my thing as Director of Clinical Services is always to set up these people for success. The moment they come through those gates, once there's breath in their nostrils, there's always hope. So we also do family therapy, which is crucial, because we understand addiction is not just affecting that person.
Yes.
It affects the family, and the family may not realize it, right? But when we bring them in and we start speaking to them, they realize that their attention may have been focusing on that person who is in addiction, other relationships may have been neglected, etc. So it's a family disease, and we understand, we come from a perspective that it is a disease. Like we have cancer, etc. You need to, it's not just you get healed and then that's it. It's a constant process. It's continuous. We do not just leave them once they've left Verdon or Marina House. We have continuing care. We are very much a part of NA and AA as well, because research shows that being in contact with people at least 5 years after they've left residential is really key. We've also understood that it's more than just residential, because everyone, the moment they hear Verdon House or Marina House, they're like, not me, I don't want to go up there, I've got a job, etc. So the last couple of years we've really diversified our treatment. So we have outpatient, and what was so key to that was that we started to realise that even though we help those from 18 years old onwards, that we were starting to get calls from people who are younger. Okay. And therefore we have started outpatient services. We do things like domestic violence workshops. We can do family outpatient as well, because the need is so great. And we can no longer deceive ourselves to say that Barbados is just a place of sun, sand and sea. It is more, when you really look and, start peeling back the layers, there are those people who are crying out to be helped.
Yes.
Yeah.
We're gonna continue in peeling that. The couple of words that we've mentioned that I want us to just break down for it, which is disease, abuse, and addiction. I think we need to get that clear out there so people understand what it is, because we've heard it. Alcohol. If you're alcoholic, that you have a disease, drug. But let's understand that clearly what that means.
Okay, so looking at what most people think about addiction, some people may see it as a moral failure, right? Why don't they just stop?
Exactly.
Right? It is a compulsive, obsessive disorder, right? So imagine now your body craving on a daily basis. You know in your mind that you're not supposed to. You know in your mind that it's going to harm. You know that it's going to affect your family, etc. But your body, there is something in the brain that is crying out for that. And it feels like when we're thirsty, we want water. It's that desire, and it's compulsive, it's obsessive. It impairs your functioning. It impacts everything. Your thinking, how you justify certain things. And so we're seeing it from a disease, and I'm really putting it in really basic terms so that your listeners can understand. Yes, we can talk about the science behind it, which there is much research on it, but it's really important to say, imagine being in a situation where I know that I should not be doing this. I know that I'm neglecting my children, but that desire, that pull, is uncontrollable. And I know David, from his own experience, can identify with that from his stories as well.
That's why I wanted to bring you in here, David, in terms of having obviously been there. Just share a little bit for us in terms of what it was like for you, perhaps knowing in your head that you should not be drinking, you should not be smoking, you should not whatever. But as Allison said, the body was calling, and therefore that took over you. That
side came actually down the line. In the beginning, it was more of curiosity, fun, and then the fun, unknowingly to me, became my enemy. It became the point that there was no more fun. So I wanted to come out, but every time I tried to come out, there was this thing that was telling me, don't come.
Of course.
This is good. There were times I did some very bad things in my active use. At one point in time, I remember my ex-wife. I actually went to. It was like we were together. We were doing good and thing, but when the disease kicked in, I didn't want to see her at all. I had another friend again that I get up out of my bed 1:00 in the morning, leave her in the bed, I went straight into the dope hole and decided to smoke my dope because she was not important. The dope was more important to me at that time. And when I use the word important, it wasn't important from my perspective because I had no control. It was that desire that was keep calling me that I had to get up from outside a physical being to go and sit down among people that in bed for days. Those things happened to me. There were days that I did not have a bath. There were days I did not eat food. Even when I am hungry and I get a $2 or $3, the hunger stops. Mm-hmm. Then that kicks in, so I then hunt for more. Let me tell you something about trying to get a crack cocaine stone. It's like you're obsessed with it because there are two addictions. Allison was saying, make up for obsession and compulsion. So you're obsessed with this getting high. So
and you're always looking for that first high.
So every time you get, so as long as when you get the funds, the obsession starts. So you start to look about, you start to want. And then when you move from the money to the pusher man, your stomach start to roll. Sometimes some people get, I used to get what we call diarrhea. And for them to get to the pusher man, diarrhea stop. Dope in my hand. So to get from here now back to where I'm going to use it, that whole cycle starts again until they get to the pipe. So it was a life that I spent 7 years doing crack cocaine of itself. This has nothing to do with the rest of drugs. And even if I said all those drugs because I'm also a Merchant Navy ex-seaman. So I traveled the whole wide world. So any culture that I go in, I had any opportunity to partake in their culture, whatever they were using, I use. So it becomes, I would say, I started about 6-7 years old. You know, old people used to do this little cake thing in the bottle, put up the little black cake in the jar. At the end of the year, Christmas, you know,
the black cake.
You see that little thing, the ends? I used to love to have that.
Okay.
Not knowing, it wasn't about getting high. I know I used to feel fussy, anxious, and nice and happy, but it was nothing to do with getting caught. I was ignorant to the fact of what I will be doing in the next.
Of course, well, at 6 years old, definitely.
Correct. So
wow.
That's
okay, Allison. I want you to paint. Okay, because David has started the painting of a picture of the life of a person who is addicted. Give us a sense from where you sit as exactly what is happening to us here in Barbados today. What give us an idea, a little insight into, where David would have come from at 6 years old, how easy it is for this thing to happen.
What I want to say is that addiction is no respecter of persons. And so sometimes you think of the person on the street corner. Yeah, that's certain people's perception of addiction. And from my experience, shows no respecter of persons, from the heights and terraces, as Bajans say, to the lowest of the low, right? There's no respecter of persons. What I'm seeing is what we have been doing is a lot of research. We've been seeing younger and younger persons starting their first introduction to any drug or substance is becoming at a younger age. David mentioned 6 and 7 years old, and when we do our research, that's what we're seeing. We're also seeing that,
and this is when you were obviously at that age. I mean, how many years ago? How old do you know?
Exactly. So it is what is being they're exposed to, and unfortunately, we're seeing that the introduction normally comes through family members. So that idea that there's some man lurking at the corner in some block, pushing, enticing, is not always true. It's sometimes the family members who introduce, and we have a responsibility to interrupt that. So imagine when I was just saying about addiction is a family disease, because they can focus on that person who may have come into treatment, but when you start peeling off the layers, you're starting to see the grandfather, the uncle, etc.
And this was the norm.
Exactly. And what we're seeing also is a link to to co-occurring disorders, so the impact that it has on the mental health. We're also looking at process addictions, which are sex addiction, gambling, shopping, and how they're intertwined and interlinked, right? Because what Dave is describing, the persons I've worked with who are addicted to gambling speak about that same, they have that physical anxiety. They almost feel to be sick, and the moment they put the money in the slot machine, and
everything goes away.
Everything goes away, and they know they're not supposed to spend that money, the rent money, etc. It's just pure justification. So what we're seeing here in Barbados is that, and as I would have mentioned before, is that we've opened up the female facility. That is 5 years. What we were also seeing was that women were also getting impacted by drug addiction, alcohol addiction, looking at abuse. It just seems that on the whole, women tend to have that longer time of resilience, but we are seeing that there was a need there. There's never been a time that Verdun or Marina has been empty.
Wow.
Right? So you imagine that Verdun's been open 20 years. There's never been a time. It doesn't matter if it's Christmas, if it's crop over, if it's in the midst of COVID-19. We are still seeing persons coming in asking for help. And the important thing is the moment they are asking for help that's the moment that you've got to hit. Because as David talks about, after a while that can stop, and then you start thinking about the pusher man, you start thinking about, you need to hit while the iron's hot and help those persons. And it's a reality in Barbados. Due to confidentiality, there's certain things that I can't say, but what I can say is that it impacts every level of society. Verdun House and Marina House are no longer catering for persons who are a particular level. Right? I have seen the young, the old, and that's another thing as well. We're seeing a lot of older people coming in as well.
Wow.
Persons in their 50s and 60s. Now, you know what it is. This time now you're supposed to be claiming your pension, rocking back and enjoying life. And at this time you're saying, you know what, I need help.
So can anybody just walk off the street, or you have to be referred? How does it work?
Yeah, so you do have to be referred. Unfortunately, the referral, when I say unfortunately, just because of the stigma attached to the psychiatric hospital, persons will have to go to the psychiatric hospital to get those referrals. We do have a very good working relationship with the psychiatric hospital, and also it is just for their safety to ensure that they're detoxed before they come to us. Because as much as we have nurses at Verdun and Marina House, we're not actually a hospital. So someone who obviously is drinking alcohol and just stopped drinking yesterday, they're going to have, they're going to go through a detoxification process. However, once you ring me up any time of day, we always ensure that process is as smooth as possible. Because as I said, once you ask for help, we don't want any hiccups or anything, because you have to hear the family members. And I always say, what if it was my child? What if it was me? What would I need? So we have had persons who have unknowingly not gone to a psychiatric hospital and turned up at the gates. Can we turn them away? No. And especially now in COVID-19, we are not playing in terms of our protocols. Every person who does come still has to go through the testing. We're not, wherever they come from, they could have come straight from prison. And, any other institution, but we still ensure that their safety is paramount, but we still always want to help them.
Our time is going really quickly. David, what was your turning point? What was it in terms of your rock bottom that you looked up and you said, I need to change. I need to do something?
The 16th of February 1995. That was the day that I actually left work about 1 o'clock. In those days, I used to left work early. I was to do is bribe the accountants that paying out the pay. We supposed to get paid on Friday, but I was going to bribe the accountants.
Get the pay on Wednesday?
Get my pay on Thursday.
On Thursday.
Smoke it out, and then Friday morning, I empty W yard, begging and boring people. Anyhow, 16th of February 1995, I left work about midday, went straight to the dope wall, had about $300 by 10 o'clock at night. It had gone. It went before that, but hang on to it, get a little piece and pics and whatever, pick. I got up, came out the house, stood up outside, and I said, Father, I'm ready to go. So I just walked I moved from Tarman Avenue, and I was going to Black Rock. In Robert Street, by Greenfield, as I walking to go to rehab, this girl showed me, she smoked, look, MTW man. So I stopped. She said, man, you're a good man, they coming back and get something for you. So I wait, but she take too long. So I move, proceed. Show you how the disease works. Proceed. And then they go on to Queen Victoria Road and just check this out of the gentleman. And he went there, he said, I should go in and smoke? He said, no, he had 3 peaches in a glass. I ate them, I had 50 cents in my pocket, 2 quarts. So I moved. From there, I stopped again at the gas station at the top of the Westbury Road, top of Deacons Road. And it was just about to close. And I pushed the 2 quarts through the door. The man gave me a pocket clip. I walked from there to the psyche, sat down outside the psyche, ate all the biscuits. Then he said to sleep, because I want to get in. A worm and mosquitoes came. And I get up and I went by the door. And the man that was working, he knew me. So he told me to wait. The morning I got in and I went to Dr. Bannister God, the residency grave. She said, this third time I talking about, because first 2 times it was about job and woman. This time it was about dated with me. So I went in and she said to me, what can I do for you? I said, Doc, I don't know what you do for me, but I tell you, I can't leave here, because if I leave here, I don't know what I can do. Mm-hmm. She called her, one bed was open, grass field, I went to grass field. I asked a mental patient I tell you, you're going to smoke? So he gave me a cigarette. I light it, pull half of it, pelt it there. Done with that. From that morning up to this day, I have not smoked cigarettes, drank no alcohol, no type of drugs at all.
Wow. We could do the whole series on David, actually.
This is 26. The 17th of next month will be 26 years.
Wow, fantastic. Fantastic. Our time is up, and we've just basically begun to scratch the surface. We're going to continue, as I said, during the month of January looking, and hopefully we'll have some more interesting stories for you. But we really want to unpack and look at this whole question of addiction and how it starts and what are the things that we need to do individually to help our individuals, to help our families, because obviously this program is about parenting, and we want to be able to look to see how parents are being affected, how children, obviously in results, of what we're seeing in society. We haven't even touched crime and how that whole thing is how it all links together. But thank you so much, Allison and David, for coming and sharing with us. We look forward to continuing this series next week, so please join us. Thank you very much.
Thank you. You're welcome.
Thank you, too.
We hope that as you listened to this broadcast, you have benefited in some way and feel motivated to apply the information to your parenting experience. Once again, we at PAREDOS thank you for listening to Pause for Parenting. Remember, parenting is all-encompassing. Parents are their children's first and foremost teachers, guidance counselors, and nurturers. You are responsible for guiding and nurturing all aspects of your child's development, including their cognitive and educational development, as well as their social skills and emotional thinking. I leave you with these words of encouragement. Children are a gift from the Lord, a heritage and a reward, and are not to be seen as burdens. So train your child in the way that he or she should go, and when he is old, he will not depart from it. I wish you a blessed and productive week ahead.